it's just going on emotion. It's just like internet articles now. Like if there's emotion behind the title, you get a click and it might not follow through. It might be clickbait, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The emotion.
It's a good point. Tabloids, the original clickbait.
Yeah, because really all it wants you to do is open the page, just like an article would. If it's written with emotion, that's where.
And really, what they want you to see is the ads around the page.
And you know what? a lot of times, it's not even, journalism. Really, it's just emotional headlines filled with recent facts. It's not journalism. It's not actual anything of substance.
I know.
That's what we're surrounded by, and it's like you all of a sudden read an article and it's got merit to it because you're like, I just read this article. It's like, well, who cares? Like, I could have written that and put it on a blog. Like anyone could have. You don't need degree. You don't need credentials at all.
I heard
that's kind of what we're surrounded by.
It's true. I heard a YouTuber talk about all of the the Harvey Weinstein and all the cancel culture and all that stuff, and she put it in a really good way where she's like, in the entertainment industry and movies and TV, do we think that this type of thing happens more than in any other industry? Because it doesn't. But why do we care so much more when it has to do with actors and filmmakers? It's because they've made us feel something. So we feel betrayed because we've looked at their face and felt something in ourselves. And we don't have that with some no-name finance guy, and it's oh, it turns out this person's terrible, cancel them. We're oh, we don't care. We care so much though when it's someone we worship people who pretend, professional pretenders who we don't know, but they make us feel something when we watch the movies
or
on TV.
we associate them with something.
And you feel like them in a weird way, but it's you don't.
Yeah,
you just have this weird emotional attachment.
If you grew up loving Friends,
and then you find out they are human, they do terrible things, and then you go, ah, no. It's
I do wonder though if it's true that
Jeffrey Epstein didn't go.
I mean, I do wonder that as well.
I do wonder, yeah.
But what I was going to say is that the whole MeToo culture, that wasn't more prevalent. Obviously that kind of thing is everywhere. But I do wonder if Hollywood isn't more of a breeding ground for that behavior.
Yeah, I think it was
inherently.
It was built on a little bit of or maybe a lot of a, bad foundation where that was the norm. How a company would have a culture and it's a bad culture. Yeah. But Hollywood itself,
it just feels like it lends itself to that, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So, now we're getting into the Me Too stuff, but let's go. Just this idea of how many young people who are aspiring for their goals. Not to mention acting is a pretty insecure job. I think a lot of people who are actors are insecure. They're part of their motivation for acting and to be on stage and to be in the limelight is to get the affirmation that comes with that. I'm getting into the psychology of all of it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fair to say, but I know what you're saying. I mean, like I said, professional pretender. I think acting is awesome.
Of course,
obviously,
we all do
want to work with real actors, and I want to make films. That's why I think about this stuff. But it's interesting.
This all comes back to one of the most influential films of our recent decade, Anchorman 2.
Right.
Where, Will Ferrell finds out that news is not what sells.
I actually like Anchorman too.
Yeah.
And that's partially because I was well, they actually have a story. They have something to say.
It's not news that sells, actual news and factual things. It's, it's hype.
Yeah.
And it's
sensationalized.
Sensation. And these things are why they bubble to the surface. Like you said, if some financial advisor was abusing his whole company, it wouldn't be good enough news for me to write about it because I wouldn't get enough clicks, as someone who's going to report it, or if a network, whatever, if they were famous or a CEO of a company that was famous, it might be actual news, so to speak. But, that's kind of the cycle we're in where it's just we want excitement and we want drama, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, that's human nature. We're not all going to want to be, hearing boring, stuff all the time. If I don't watch the news, but people, they want to hear the sensational questions that keeps them through the commercial break, right?
Yeah.
What's in your stew?
Oh, yeah, that's Mike Birbiglia, right?
Yeah, what's in my stew? Broth.
It's like pa-chow.
But what's in my broth?
Do you know what's in your soup? And he's like, well, I thought it was broth, but I guess I'll wait to find out. It's like, pa-chow.
So you're just waiting on
Turns out it's broth. He's like, God, I thought so. I thought it was broth. But do you know what's in your broth? Pa-chow.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is. It's just like drama, and you never feel satisfied by it.
I think
They always hook you on the next
He
thing.
was also the one that said, like, the news should be called, here's the shittiest stuff that's happening closest to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of times, like, so if you're not someone who watches the news, you see stuff on Facebook and that is, being shared. And a lot of people will say, I mean, why isn't this on the news? They're sharing it. It's like, well, how did you get it? Like, think about that. Like, how are you sharing it if this is not news?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about this, but you're just like some dude in Connecticut. Like, obviously or whatever, it's like, just the idea that we don't always hear what's local news everywhere in the world. Like, people only think of like on a national platform. So like when a lot of racial injustice was happening, people were saying like, how come no one's and is happening?
Remember the summer when there was a bunch of
Remember that one time?
yeah. Good thing it's over now.
Glad we got past that.
No, when it was being talked about, I should have said.
Yeah, no, I
more
know
than
what
it
you're
is now, and more than it was before. It was a national outrage, but these things were all happening locally.
Yeah.
And people would say, oh, they would cherry pick a story about maybe the reversed roles and say, why is nobody talking about this? The kid that got killed by the black man. It's like, well, actually, that was local news wherever they lived. They definitely talked about that, but it's not national.
Yeah.
So we get this huge distortion of like news on my feed versus what's, just sensational versus what's actually accurate. Because like, even if it's being shared, it might not be accurate. So
yeah. And even like the news on your feed, if you're like getting your news through Instagram or Facebook or any of the social media platforms, the algorithm has made it so it's specifically for you. You're only getting the information you want to read, you want to see.
Yeah. That's how you get it.
Well, not even that you want, that they know you'll click on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like they, you don't even know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
They have figured it out because they analyze your tendencies and your behavior.
Exactly. So you're missing such a large chunk.
And
of
if someone's
what's going
sharing
on.
another viewpoint from you, you will probably unfriend them.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate hearing about that person who's so wrong because they don't share my view.
Well, to that point, though, there probably are people who get nothing but the opposite viewpoint of them because that's the stuff that they're constantly looking at. You know what I mean? So it's more about, but by and large, most people click on the stuff that reinforces their viewpoints.
Yeah, you get that confirmation bias where you're actually Googling the questions you have, which are leading questions. Now, what was the motive behind this thing? Was it
all
because
those questions are being tracked?
Yeah.
Life would just be easier if you just had completely emotionless.
Yeah. I'll go through and like trick the algorithm on TikTok or not TikTok, Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Because I'll just get mad. I'm like, I'll get mad. I'll be like, my feed is not diverse. It's all Caucasian, like white people. And I'm like, excuse me, let me see some diversity. So I'll just keep scrolling.
I
don't even do that. I don't even do
click
that.
not interested on
There we
every
go.
white person.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Interested, not
That's
interested.
what I do. No, I just keep scrolling. I don't stop. I don't like. I don't do anything. And the algorithm is like freaking out. It's like, what do you want to see? I don't know what to show you. And it's just like keeps throwing random stuff
Cannot
at
figure out Berlin.
me. Like, what is it you want?